there's a moment every car lover dreads. It's not a speeding ticket. It's not a scratch in the supermarket car park. It's that quiet, sickening moment when the dream dies. It's the pit that forms in your stomach when the car you poured your savings into, the one that represented a promotion, a new chapter for your family, or the fulfillment of a lifelong ambition, suddenly transforms from a source of pride into a financial black hole. One minute, it's gleaming on your driveway, a testament to your hard work. The next, its dashboard is lit up like a Christmas tree from hell, and every new, unnatural noise from under the bonnet sounds suspiciously like a cash register. Here in the United Kingdom, this story is all too familiar. We're not just talking about minor annoyances. We are talking about catastrophic engine failures, disintegrating gearboxes, and suspension systems that collapse without warning. We're talking about specialist garages charging upwards of 120 pounds an hour, only to deliver a diagnosis that makes you question every financial decision you've ever made. Today, we are going on a journey. We're not just listing faulty cars, we are dissecting the anatomy of automotive regret. We are exposing 7 vehicles that are incredibly common sights on British roads, cars that were once hailed as smart, stylish, or supremely sensible buys. These were the darlings of company fleet managers, the trusted wagons for the school run, and the tempting second-hand bargains that promised so much but delivered a world of pain. This list could save you not just thousands of pounds, but the immense stress and heartache that comes with owning a car that constantly lets you down. We'll explore why these models, from prestigious executive saloons to supposedly bulletproof family SUVs, became ticking time bombs for their second, third, or even first owners. So buckle up, because the stories we're about to share are cautionary tales that every prospective used car buyer in the UK needs to hear. Now, before we pull the cover off our first car, a quick word. Here at Car Crazes, our entire mission is to cut through the marketing fluff and give you the unvarnished reality of car ownership. The kind of knowledge that saves you money and, more importantly, saves you from automotive heartache. If that sounds like the kind of honest advice you need in your corner, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. And don't forget to ring the notification bell. You won't regret it. Alright, with that said, let's dive into our first vehicle, a true British icon with a dark secret. Car 1, Jaguar XF, 2015 onwards, the Fallen Knight. Let's begin with a symbol of British prestige, a car that promises more than mere transportation, it promises an experience. The Jaguar XF. Specifically, the second-generation model, known as the X260, produced from 2015 onwards, especially those fitted with the early Ingenium diesel engines. Picture this: Mark, a sales director from Leeds, has just collected his 3-year-old Jaguar XF. As he eases it onto the M62, the world feels right. The scent of genuine leather fills the cabin, the long sweeping bonnet stretches out before him, and the engine emits a subtle, confident growl. This isn't just a car, it's an arrival. For months, it's pure bliss. The admiring glances from neighbors, the serene power on long motorway cruises, the quiet satisfaction of having chosen something with more soul and class than its German rivals. Then, the dream begins to fray at the edges. The decline starts subtly, a slightly rough, clattering cold start in the morning that he dismisses as a quirk of the diesel engine. A faint, high-pitched whine that begins to accompany every acceleration, almost imperceptible at first, but growing with each passing week. Then, one bleak winter morning, the honeymoon is officially over. The dashboard erupts in a terrifying blaze of orange and red lights, accompanied by a chilling, restricted performance message. The verdict from the garage is nothing short of devastating. It's the notorious double whammy for the XF's Ingenium diesel engines, a stretched timing chain, and a failing turbocharger. These aren't minor repairs, they're complex, engine-out operations. The quote arrives like a punch to the gut, several thousand pounds, with the garage demanding a hefty deposit before they even order the parts. Mark's story is a tragic echo of thousands of others across Britain. His prized Jaguar, his symbol of success, is now sitting in pieces on a workshop floor for weeks, while he's forced to rely on a tiny courtesy hatchback. The pride has been replaced by profound frustration and a rapidly draining bank account. Owners discovered that beneath the XF's undeniably beautiful and sleek exterior lay engineering that was, in many cases, tragically fragile. The issues were relentless, from persistent DPF and EGR valve problems to complete engine failure. The XF was designed to prove that Jaguar could not just compete with, but beat the Germans at their own game. For far too many owners, however, it became a very expensive and bitter lesson that a prestigious badge and a beautiful design are no substitute for mechanical integrity. Car 2. Honda CR-V, 2012 to 2018, the betrayal of trust. From the heights of British luxury, we now turn to a brand that built its entire global reputation on the very opposite principle: unshakable, bulletproof reliability. Honda. And specifically, the fourth-generation CR-V, sold in the UK from roughly 2012 to 2018, particularly the models equipped with the 1.6 ID Tech diesel engine. Imagine a typical British weekday: the chaotic 9 a.m. school run, a quick dash to Tesco for the weekly shop, followed by the soul-destroying stop-start crawl of the M25 during the evening commute. This is the exact environment the Honda CR-V was engineered to conquer with unflappable competence. With its spacious interior, frugal fuel consumption, and that legendary Honda badge on the grille, it seemed like the most sensible, risk-free choice a family could make. It was the automotive equivalent of a safe bet. But for thousands of owners, that safety net proved to be an illusion. The first sign of trouble often came on a cold morning, an unsettling, metallic rattle from the engine on startup. This wasn't just a noisy tappet, it was the telltale death rattle of a timing chain stretching far, far earlier than its expected lifespan. A repair that should be a once-in-a-lifetime event for a car was becoming a shockingly common necessity, with bills running well into four figures. The transmission, once a model of seamless shifting, would often grow hesitant and juddery in traffic, turning every jam into a nerve-wracking reminder of another impending, expensive repair. For those primarily using their CR-V for short, urban journeys, precisely the kind of driving a family SUV does, the injectors would clog with infuriating regularity. This would trigger warning lights and send the car into limp mode, robbing it of power at the most inconvenient and often dangerous moments. What made this so painful for owners wasn't just the financial cost, it was the profound sense of betrayal. You buy a Honda to avoid this exact scenario. You pay a premium for the peace of mind that it will start every morning and never let you down. Instead, owners found themselves locked in battles with dealerships, chasing courtesy cars, and staring at invoices that felt like they belonged to a far more exotic, temperamental brand. The Honda CR-V 1.6 ID Tech taught a harsh lesson. Even a reputation carved from decades of reliability can be shattered by one problematic engine. Car 3. Skoda Superb, 2008 to 2015. The cunning deception. Our focus here is on the second-generation Skoda Superb, sold between 2008 and 2015. This was the car that truly solidified Skoda's reputation, and for years, it was the British fleet market's best-kept secret. It was the smart choice, the ace up the sleeve of savvy company car drivers and fleet managers across the country. Here was a car that offered the cavernous boot of an estate car, the limousine-like rear legroom that could shame a Mercedes S-Class, and all the proven engineering of the Volkswagen Group, but without the premium price tag. Company drivers adored them. They devoured motorway miles with ease and comfort. When their 3-year lease terms ended, a flood of these ex-fleet Superbs poured onto the second-hand market, looking like the ultimate bargain for private buyers. On paper, it was a dream come true, a nearly new, high-spec executive car for the price of a mid-range hatchback. But this is where the cunning deception revealed itself. The reality of ownership for many second-hand buyers was a brutal awakening. The popular 2 TSI petrol engine, for example, developed a voracious appetite for engine oil, leaving many owners constantly checking the dipstick and topping up, sometimes masking deeper, more sinister issues like failing piston rings. Even more troublesome was the celebrated DSG automatic gearbox. So wonderfully slick and responsive when new, it proved to be a fragile and expensive liability as the miles piled on. Mechatronic unit failures, the gearbox's complex electronic brain, became alarmingly common. Worn clutch packs were another frequent ailment. Neither was a cheap fix. Owners were regularly presented with repair bills of £2,000, £2,500, or even more. Suddenly, that £10,000 bargain scooped up at a car auction had become a £12,500 money pit, just to keep it on the road. The word spread like wildfire through the automotive trade. Used car dealers grew wary of taking them in part exchange, knowing all too well that an angry phone call from a disgruntled customer was likely just a few weeks away. As a result, residual values, once a strong point, began to plummet. The Skoda Superb's meticulously built reputation as the clever, sensible alternative to the mainstream began to unravel, leaving many buyers feeling they had been outsmarted by the smart choice. Car 4, Alfa Romeo, Giulia, 2016 onwards, the heartbreak of passion. Some cars are bought with the head, others are bought with the heart. The Alfa Romeo Giulia falls firmly into the latter category. When the Giulia Type 952 arrived in Britain around 2016, the automotive press declared it was the great comeback, the car that would finally put Alfa Romeo back on the map. With its seductive Italian styling, rear-wheel drive chassis, and handling sharp enough to challenge the German Titans, it was a siren's call to any driver weary of corporate conformity. And plenty of Brits answered that call. They walked past the BMW and Audi showrooms and signed on the dotted line for a car that promised soul, passion, and excitement. For the first few months, it was a glorious love affair. The way it handled a winding B-road was sublime, an unforgettable experience that made every drive feel special. But passion can be fleeting, and reality, especially for owners of the early production models, has a nasty habit of creeping in. Owners of the 2-liter turbo petrol model quickly discovered it was far thirstier than the official figures suggested. Around town, the fuel economy was often dismal. Even on a long motorway run, it drank fuel like a car with a much larger, more powerful engine, but without the glorious soundtrack to justify the expense. Then came the true cost of passion, the upkeep. The network of independent Alfa Romeo specialists in the UK is sparse, meaning most owners were tethered to the main franchise dealerships. Here, labor rates are at a premium, and the cost of parts can be eye-wateringly expensive. A common rail fuel pump failure or a stubborn, misbehaving electronic sensor could not only immobilize the car for weeks while parts were shipped from Italy, but also result in a bill that could cripple a monthly budget. The Giulia delivered its passion in exhilarating, intoxicating bursts. But for many, the day-to-day reality of ownership felt like an endless subscription fee for those fleeting moments of joy. It became the ultimate symbol of a painful truth. A car can be beautiful to look at and thrilling to drive, but if it drains your savings and spends more time in the workshop than on the road, the love affair will inevitably end in a bitter and expensive divorce. Car 5, Audi. A6, 2014 to 2018, the corporate warrior's hidden flaw. Walk through any major business park in the UK and you would have been surrounded by them, the Audi A6. We're honing in on the C7 generation, and specifically the facelifted Ultra models sold from 2014 to 2018. This was the undisputed king of the company car park, the default choice for executives, managers, and sales reps across the nation. And why not? It made perfect sense on paper. The low CO2 emissions meant attractive benefit-in-kind tax bands for the employee. The sky-high official MPG figures pleased the fleet managers. And that coveted 4-ring badge on the grille projected an image of success and technological sophistication. During their 3-year lease period, these cars were flawless. They were serviced on the dot by main dealers and spent most of their lives effortlessly cruising up and down the UK's motorway network. The problem started the moment these cars left the corporate world and entered the used market. The second owner, often a family man who thought he'd bagged a prestigious and reliable executive saloon, had a completely different driving pattern. His life wasn't endless trips on the M1, it was a mix of short school runs, trips to the supermarket, and the occasional family holiday. This is where the A6 Ultra's hidden flaw was brutally exposed. The complex emissions control systems, specifically the EGR, exhaust gas recirculation valves, and DPF, diesel particulate filter, were perfectly happy on long, hot motorway journeys. But they absolutely hated short, stop-start driving. The systems would clog up with soot, triggering a cascade of warning lights and sending the car into limp mode. Suddenly, the once mighty Executive Express had the power output of a lawnmower. The fix? A professional, forced regeneration, or often a complete replacement of the DPF or EGR valve, landing the new owner with a bill for £1,500 or more. Add to this the fact that after 100,000 miles of pounding up and down those motorways, Suspension components like bushes and control arms were often worn out, turning the A6's once serene ride into a symphony of clonks and rattles. The cruel irony was that the very thing that made them seem like a risk-free choice for their first life, their role as high-mileage motorway cruisers, is precisely what made them a financial minefield for their second. Car 6, Volvo XC, 2015 to 2018, the shattered sanctuary. There are cars, and then there are Volvos. For decades, the brand has been a byword for safety, durability, and a certain kind of understated, Scandinavian common sense. And no model embodied this ethos more than the Volvo XC90. Our cautionary tale centers on the second-generation model, especially the early examples produced from 2015 to around 2018. For British families, it was the no-brainer choice. Buying a used XC90 felt like an investment in peace of mind. For the first few years of ownership, that image held strong. The school runs were calm and serene, long holiday trips were effortlessly comfortable, and the badge on the bonnet carried a quiet confidence. It was your family's sanctuary. But as the miles climbed, that sanctuary began to show alarming cracks, and the cost of repairs was anything but serene. The D5 diesel engine, while strong, was not immune to the same DPF and EGR issues as other large diesels on short UK commutes, but the real financial terror lay elsewhere. The automatic gearboxes, particularly in earlier second-generation models, could develop severe issues, beginning with slipping and progressing to complete failure. A full gearbox rebuild on an XC90 isn't a small job. It's a monumental expense, often costing more than a perfectly good used hatchback. Then there was the optional air suspension. While providing a magic carpet ride when new, the units were prone to leaking and collapsing, leaving the car stranded and undrivable. With each corner costing a four-figure sum to repair, a complete failure could result in a bill that would make your eyes water. Fleet managers, who once loved the XC90, began to back away as its reputation for expensive post-warranty failures grew, causing its residual values to tumble. For the private buyer, the shock was deeply personal. The very car they had bought to eliminate stress and worry from their lives had become the single biggest source of it. The Volvo XC90 proved that even a fortress can crumble from within, and the bill for rebuilding it is terrifyingly high. Car 7, Toyota Avensis, 2009 to 2015, the unthinkable failure. We end with the car that, for many, represents the most shocking story of all. Because if there is one brand that the British public believed they could buy with their eyes closed, that brand is Toyota. Toyota is not just a car manufacturer, it is the foundation of the automotive industry. Synonymous with reliability, durability, and hassle-free driving, the Toyota Avensis was the embodiment of this philosophy. You saw them everywhere as reliable family cars, high-mileage fleet vehicles, and, most revealingly, as the backbone of Britain's private taxi fleets. They were cars that were expected to go to the moon and back with nothing more than oil changes and new tires. But one engine destroyed that sacred trust. The 2 and 2.2-liter D4D diesel, found in the third-generation Avensis T270, sold from 2009 to 2018. With models prior to 2015 being particularly problematic, this engine, which should have been an example of reliability, became a source of immense anguish. The EGR systems were notoriously prone to frequent and premature clogging. The injectors had exorbitant replacement prices, far more than one would expect for a sensible family car. And DPF failures became a recurring and frightening theme. For a typical family, this was a disaster. But for taxi drivers who depended on their Avensis for their livelihood, it was catastrophic. Every day the car was out of service, awaiting an expensive repair was a day of lost income. Families who had deliberately chosen the safe option, the boring but reliable Toyota, found themselves stranded on the side of the road, facing repair bills more in line with the prestigious German brands they had actively sought to avoid. The shock here wasn't just financial, it was emotional. It was a crisis of faith. If a Toyota could let you down so catastrophically, which brand could you really trust? For thousands of owners in the UK, the Avensis wasn't just another car that broke down. It was the car that shattered Toyota's aura of invincibility. It taught a painful and unforgettable lesson. Even the most trusted name in the automotive world can let you down. 7 cars, 7 stories of deep regret. From stylish status symbols to supposedly indestructible family vehicles, What connects them is the painful gap between promise and reality. They prove that, in the complex world of used cars, brand, prestige, and reputation are no guarantee against exorbitant repair bills. This isn't about criticizing brands, it's about empowering you, the buyer. Knowledge is your most important tool. Knowing these hidden weaknesses, these potential financial pitfalls, can prevent you from making a mistake that could haunt you for years. But now, I want to pass the word to the most important experts, you, the community of drivers who have lived with these cars. Have you ever owned one of the 7 on this list? Was it the nightmare we described? Or were you lucky enough to get one of the rare trouble-free examples? Your story, shared in the comments below, is more than just a post. It's a warning sign, a piece of advice that can prevent another driver from making a costly mistake. Let's help each other build a stronger, more informed community. If you found this investigation helpful and it provided you with valuable knowledge for your next car purchase, please like this video. And, most importantly, be sure to click the subscribe button and turn on notifications, because next time, we're going to switch roles. We're going to reveal the unsung heroes of the used car market, the hidden gems that are secretly worth every penny. You won't want to miss it. Thank you for joining us. Stay smart, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.